Hi, I'm Dr. Heathcote, the Reedley College Engineering instructor, and I'm going to show you a fun activity you can do at home, making a vehicle out of 2 coffee cups. It's going to be using real simple materials. You're going to use 2 coffee cups with lids, scissors, a thumbtack, some duct tape, a paper clip, a variety of washers, and a nut and a bead, a few rubber bands, and a straw. So, as I mentioned, I teach engineering, and one area of engineering is mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineers try to convert one type of energy into a useful type of energy. So, for example, your automobile takes the chemical stored energy of gasoline and turns that into useful kinetic energy driving your car. Nowadays, some cars use battery power to do that, even better because it's a cleaner source of power. In this project, what we're going to do is we're going to take the elastic stored energy of rubber bands and use that energy to convert it into the energy of a moving vehicle. So let's take a look at how we're going to do this. So I mentioned we're going to have 2 cups. So go ahead and take off the lids. You can use really any coffee cups with lids for this, any cups with lids, to be honest. These are 16-ounce cups. They're pretty big cups. Come with a lid. I got them on Amazon. You can find similar things at Starbucks. You can have smaller coffee cups. That would work too, as long as it has a lid, is basically how we're going to make this go. So first thing we're going to do is we need to cut a hole into the bottom of the cup. And so we're going to use scissors to do that. Sometimes it's a little hard to get a hole started. That's why I have the thumbtack as well. You can use the thumbtack to kind of poke some holes already into it. And sometimes a few holes there already is going to make it a little bit easier to poke your scissors through. Be careful doing that. I don't want you cutting yourself trying to poke that through. So once you do that, you're just going to kind of cut a hole. It's not going to be the entire bottom of that, but a lot of it is. I'll show you how big I make mine. I'm just going to kind of keep cutting around in a spiral, making it kind of wider and wider until I have a hole about that big. Okay, that's going to work. And then do the same thing with the other side. Again, you could start by poking some holes in it with your thumbtack to get it started, and then after that the scissors will go in there a little bit easier, and then you can kind of cut spiraling around until you have a decent hole. Okay, so now we have 2 coffee cups. They're not very useful as coffee cups anymore, so we better make them into a good vehicle. What we're going to do is we're going to put the 2 cups, the bottoms together like that, right? So you can kind of see right through the bottom. And we're going to tape them together with a little duct tape. So I get the duct tape started and just kind of wrap it around one time. One thing with vehicles, you know, the more weight you add to it, the harder it's going to be to propel it forward. So we don't want to add any extra weight that we don't have to. So I'm just going to go around one time with the duct tape, and then I'm going to cut it off. All right, so they're pieced together. Now I can see right through there. Okay, now let's take a look at the lids. The lids also need holes in them, not nearly as big though, but they also are going to be right through the center. It's a little harder to poke a hole through the plastic. Be real careful. Don't have your finger right behind it. I don't want you to be poking a hole in your finger too. Your fingers should be on the sides like this so that when you poke through with the paper clip, it's not getting your finger. So again, I'm going to make a couple holes here, just big enough that I can get the scissors going a little bit. And this one's going to be a lot smaller hole. It's just going to be a little bit around something like that. Okay, not very big at all. Same thing with the other side. Again, keep those fingers away from the center so that when you poke through that you're not poking a hole into your finger as well. And that should allow you to get your scissors in. and make a little opening. Like that, something like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our rubber bands ready now. Now the goal of the rubber bands is you want a rubber band essentially as long as your vehicle before it's even stretched. And so one of these rubber bands isn't enough. So that's why I have 4 rubber bands the way I'm going to do it. And I'm going to kind of tie them together. So the way I kind of loop them together is take one rubber band, put it through the other one, and then wrap that one around and through itself. Okay, and then when you pull it, they'll be nicely bound together. Do that again a couple more times. If you have a shorter cup, you might not need 4 rubber bands. Or if you have longer rubber bands, it kind of depends on what your cups look like and what your rubber bands look like. And here's my last one. Okay, so once I have them all together, see I've got a rubber band essentially about the same length as my vehicle. Okay, like I said, if your cups are shorter, maybe you don't need as many rubber bands. Depends also on the length of your rubber bands, things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one end of this and poke it through one of your lids. So you've made a hole in your lid enough that you can poke this rubber band through. And then we're going to use the paper clip to hold it. So I'm going to put the paper clip onto the rubber band. Kind of wrap it around. So it's kind of right in the middle of the paper clip like that, because I'm going to have the paper clip holding it in place. See how I have it right in the middle like that, so that the paper clip keeps it from falling through the lid. Okay, so now I've got my rubber band. It's going to go, and I'm going to put the lid on, and as I do that, the rubber band, I'm going to have it fall through those holes I made at the bottom of the cups. You may have to shake it a little bit, make sure they fall through. You can latch that lid on, and then find the rubber band on this side. There they are. And put it through the other lid. Right, so now we're going to have this coming through here. And put that lid on. Alright, so now the rubber band goes through the entire cup, and it's held in place by the paper clip. Now, here's how it's basically going to work. We want to put this straw through the rubber band, and we're going to be winding it around, and it's the unwinding the straw that's going to propel the vehicle forward. The problem with doing that right now is the straw is going to rub against the lid the whole time. And when parts rub against each other, you have what's called friction. And friction is the enemy to the mechanical engineer when they want moving parts like this. We don't want to have friction like that. We want it to be free to move. That friction is going to stop it from moving. We're going to wind it all up, and the vehicle is not going to go anywhere. So that's the purpose of these other things. These washers. This is the reason why I have these washers, the bead, the nut. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use those to keep the straw up away from the lid. So what I'll do is I'll start with the biggest washer. So I got a big washer here. I'll put that on. I'll put the rubber band through there. And then I'll go to a little smaller washer. Push that one through. And then I'll go with a nut. And finally the bead. Kind of a strange assortment of things, but what I found, I tried a lot of different things. This worked well for me to kind of keep that straw up away from the lid. You might find different things work. Once you get the idea of what you're aiming for, you can try different things out. But basically, once those are all on, you'll notice that if I put the straw on now, it's going to keep that straw, it's going to be stacked up here so it's up away from the lid, and it's not going to rub against that lid. It's going to be free to rotate. That's what we want. Okay. Like I said, you might find other things with little holes in them that would work together. And you can experiment with different things to see what works. But that little combination of washers, a nut, and a bead worked pretty well for me. Our vehicle's ready to go. Basically, what we're going to do at this point to get it go, you're going to wind it up. It's going to take quite a bit of winding. So you're going to wind it for a while. Depends how far you want your vehicle to go, too. Okay, but basically, once you wind, you want to see that it's free to kind of spin around like that, right? If it's not spinning around like that, then something's wrong, because that's the spinning that's going to get it to go. All right, so I'm going to wind it like crazy here, and then we're gonna start by driving it across the table, and you can see how it goes. So I'll be right back when I'm set up to drive across the table. Okay, I have it all wound up. What you'll find is it works best on solid surfaces. So if you have like a hard floor, that would work well. Carpet, if it's a tight carpet, it'll drive across. It won't be nearly as fast, though. It'll slow it down a lot. You want a nice solid surface to drive it on. But basically, once it's wound up, you just set it down. And as this straw unwinds, it's going to be pushing it forward. So let's watch it. There it goes. We have harnessed the power of the rubber band to create a moving vehicle. Try this and see what you can do.